Sopranos is one of the greatest and most influential shows of all time, with some of TV's greatest episodes and seasons. In this video I want to rank all 6 seasons, from worst to best. But before I start to rank them, I want to mention I'm ranking season 6 together as a whole, also that Sopranos has no bad season or even episodes. And this is my own personal ranking of the show, not anybody else's. And of course, spoiler warning for Sopranos, I'm going to be going into everything in this video, so you have been warned. The worst season for me is season 4. It is in my opinion the overall weakest in the show. It focuses on the decay of the marriage between Tony and Carmela, as Tony has affairs with Svetlana, Uncle Junior's nurse, and Ralph's ex-girlfriend, Valentina. Carmela's attraction to Furio, and the fall of Ralph Cifaretto. Now, my problems with this season are the fact that it boasts some of Sopranos' worst and most boring episodes. Mergers and acquisitions, Eloise, which concludes one of the season's biggest plot points, that being Furio and Carmela's love for each other in an unsatisfying way. And of course, one of Sopranos' most hated episodes, Christopher, which is just a completely boring and uninteresting episode. Despite the low ranking, there is still good aspects to this season. The fall of Ralph Cifaretto was handled perfectly in the season 9 episode Whoever Did This. And the overall plotline of the season comes to an amazing conclusion in the season finale Whitecaps, which features one of the show's best scenes, featuring Tony and Carmela arguing.
Best friends with all of them too? You fucking hypocrite.
Overall, not a bad season, just the show's weakest. Number 5 is season 1. This set up the show to become the masterpiece that it is. We see straight away the stuff that will become storylines for the entire show. Tony's therapy, the power he has as a mobster, his controlling mother, relationship with Chris, his dysfunctional family, and his panic attacks. These are all vital components for the entire show. The season also features the episode College, which has now become universally recognised as the most important TV episode of all time. I would highly recommend Pure Kino's video on the topic. Now, my only problem with this season is episode 10, A Hit is a Hit, which is definitely the show's weakest, and that the show hadn't quite found its footing. But this season was an incredible introduction into what Sopranos would become. Now, this one might be a bit controversial, but number 4 is actually season 3. Now listen, I know this season has some of Sopranos' best episodes: Pound Barons, Employee of the Month, Amorpho, University, and also the introduction to Ralph, who is in my opinion an underrated villain, and fan favourite Gloria, Tony's love interest, and Christopher becoming the maid guy, and the entirety of the Pan Barons being a genius. But why is it low despite it being a fan favourite season? Well, I think the fall and death of Jackie Jr. wasn't done as well as the fall of Christopher in season 6. And of course, the worst part about season 3, CGI Olivia. In my opinion, there are better seasons of The Sopranos. Number 3, season 6. Now this is a season where the downfall of Tony Soprano starts. In the first episode, Junior Soprano shoots Tony, putting him into a coma, creating one of the TV show's best dream sequences, where we see Tony living his life as Kevin Finnerty, a normal businessman. But unfortunately, Tony is woken up, thus starting his path of destruction. We see Junior Soprano succumb to his dementia, the tragic downfall and death of Christopher via the hands of Tony, which after this point becomes unforgivable, AJ's depression and subsequent suicide attempt, and the start of the war between the New York mob and the New Jersey mob, aka Tony vs. Phil Leotardo. Now, many fans believe that season 6, particularly part 8, is not very good. Now, while the first half isn't perfect, I think the coma storyline was very good and enjoyable. The reason I put this above season 3 is part B, which features the aforementioned AJ suicide attempt, the sad tragic death of Christopher, and also the heartbreaking death of Bobby. Season 6 also features 2 incredible episodes to finish the show. Blue Comet, in which Phil puts hits out on the entire New Jersey mob, killing Bobby and putting Silvio into a coma. And the show's final episode, Made in America, one of Sopranos' strongest, which wraps up the junior storyline. Meryl gets engaged, AJ starts working for little Carmine, Carmela is happy, and Tony doesn't have to worry about the New York mob. Phil Leotardo is dead, and of course, what cements this season as the top 3 is the final scene, which is probably my favourite ending to a TV show ever. Number 2 is Season 5, which adopts a darker lighting, similar to how the Godfather films were shot. Now, Season 5 is when things start to really ramp up in the story. We get introduced to Tony's cousin, Tony B, played by Steve Buscemi, Phil Leotardo, obviously the main villain for Season 5 and 6. Tony's B character is done very well, and we see him try to change, but soon becomes a lost cause when he kills Phil's brother, Billy Leotardo, which leads to Tony pursuing and killing his own cousin. And the rift between the New York and New Jersey mob, which is handled perfectly in the finale, when Tony and Johnny Sack have a meeting which ends with the FBI chasing them, which leads to Johnny Sack getting arrested on racketeering charges. One of the season's strongest storylines is Adriana being an FBI informant, which comes to a close in probably the Sopranos' best episode, Long-Term Parking. This event also starts the fall of Christopher, and of course the saddest death in all of Sopranos, Adriana's death. No! And number 1, of course, is Season 2, a fan favourite, and for a really good reason. We get introduced to Tony's sister, Janice, who is one of the most hated characters on the show, as she is manipulative, controlling and greedy, and a person who leeches off other people's wealth, and also somebody who refuses to take responsibility. We also see Richie, April, who wants to become boss, and eventually gets engaged to Janice, which culminates perfectly in the penultimate episode, Night in White Satin Armor, where Janice, after being hit by Richie, kills him. The other main storyline is that Pussy is a rat, which also comes full circle in the finale Funhouse, the best dream episode of Sopranos, where Tony comes to terms with the fact that Pussy is a rat and that Tony must kill him.
Did I sit?
Why I think this is the best season is that Season 2's main plotlines are the main focus, no filler and straight to the point, with 2 final episodes of the season being really incredible. It has everything you want from Sopranos. Great acting, great characters, funny dialogue, great character moments, cinematography, editing, and wrapping up storylines in a clean and satisfying way. It is my favourite season of The Sopranos.